Hi, I'm Scott. I design, build, and repair woodworking pieces. I'm opening up the doors to my shop to help you become a better woodworker. This next project is about designing a tool cabinet. This is a prototype I built about 15 years ago when I didn't have that many hand tools. I've now got more tools, but I anticipate getting more over the years. So instead of trying to figure out what the perfect solution is, I'm going to make a tool cabinet that's adaptable and adjustable. What I like about this cabinet is I've got a space here for all my chisels, clamps, things that I use very frequently, and they're located down low, and that ergonomically allows me to very quickly get to these things. It's also got doors that allows me to hide another layer of tools. So tools that I use infrequently, I keep back here. Tools that I use more frequently, I keep here. I'll show you what's worked for me and what hasn't. Having these chisels on the lower left-hand side is the most efficient way I can get to these, so it's saving me some time. Up on the top, I rarely use my screwdrivers, so that's a good home for them there. I've got a drill and driver combo, and these ones are really working well for me, hanging where they are, because I can grab them with my right hand. Where I've got some of these files, I thought originally this would be a good setup, but they just tend to fall over, so I need something different for the solution. And I never built drawers in the previous one, but I'm finding them very handy, so something I want to do more of. I just found a buyer for this prototype, so it's time to close the chapter on this cabinet and build a better one. The design for this cabinet is very similar to the previous one. It's just a box with two doors. So I laid out in terms of what's going to work best for the wall space that I've got, and then I wanted to add some style to it. I shared this with a few Instagram followers to help me decide on the design that worked best. It turns out that option D was the best one. I like the gentle curve in the top, and I'm going to mimic that curve in the drawer fronts as well. I've decided to use cherry and maple as the two woods for this cabinet. The cherry is going to be for the cabinet itself, and on the interior and backs, I'm going to be using maple. I think the contrast in wood will look nice. I'm using a mix of solid wood and plywood. I like using plywood because it leaves me without having to deal with seasonal movement. The solid wood will be used in select spots where I want to feature the wood. I prepare the plywood by gluing solid edge strips on and then planing them down pretty close to the edge so they fit nice and flush. And then I finish off with a card scraper to make sure I've got a nice level fit. I'm using a 3/4 inch piece of ply at the back of this cabinet to barrel the weight of the tools. And in order to do that, I need to put a 3/4 inch rabbet all the way around so I can recess that panel. I'm also joining the top and bottom of this cabinet to the sides with a rabbet. So I'll do that with a cross-cut sled and then get ready for the curve parts. To cut the curves in the shelf and the light valance, what I do is I use a router mounted on a long arm so I get the radius that I'm looking for. What I'll do is I'll cut this radius in a scrap piece of wood to make sure I've got the curve that I'm looking for. Then I'll trace out the part on the real piece of wood, cut it close with a bandsaw, and then I'll flush trim it using a template cutting bit on the router. If you want to see more about this type of process of cutting curves, whether it's large or small, you can see our video on how to cut curves in wood. So here are all the curved parts. I've got the light valance and the shelf with the two drawer dividers underneath that. You can see the curve on these is all the same, which is really important when I go to build the curved drawer fronts. I'm almost ready to put the cabinet together, but I still have one more thing left to do on these two sides. I put these back to back, so I've got them inside facing up. The shelf is going to go in right here, and you can see it's going to touch the back, but it's not coming right to the front. So I can't just plow a dado straight through. What I need to do is create what's called a blind dado. So I need to cut a groove in here and stop it so I can notch this to fit in. And to do that, I'm going to use a router. So I've got a router jig here that I use for creating dados. This is adjustable, and the router runs just inside here with a template guide. So I've adjusted this width here down to the thickness of that shelf, And then what I can do is clamp it down and run it in here and stop it at these points. So there's a stop here, it can't go past this. I'll put another board on here and stop it past here, and that way I'll get the dado exactly where I need it. So now that I have that cut, I'm going to remove the clamps and show you how that stop dado looks. So in here you can see this is where the cut is, this is where the uncut part is. And there we go. The shelf will go right there. In order for me to get this board inside the dado, I need to notch out the front here to come out here. So I'm just lining this up to give me an idea of where I need to notch that back to. So I've just notched out the front here. This is the start of the blind dado. I do this with a chop saw because it gives me a straight, accurate line that I can then just expand with my handsaw. So with it clamped up here, you can see this is where the blind dado is, and you can see that there's no dado coming out here. So that's the beauty of this joint. Now that I've fit the shelf, what I'm going to do is take the measurement of the width of the cabinet and then figure out the distance I need for the top and bottom. I've got rabbets here, so what I need to do is make sure that the board is long enough to go between those rabbets, but give me the exact same distance at the top as what I've got in the shelf, as what I've got at the bottom. So I'll cut those and put them in place. I've now got the bottom dry fit and the top, and I've clamped on the light valance. And what I need to do is miter this so I've got a nice clean look at the front and the sides, but I'm going to do that in the next episode. And I will also show you the starting of the drawer gallery where I build the dividers, and you can see how those are snugly fit in place and evenly spaced. Until next time, enjoy your time in the wood shop.